Yeah.
Washington State definitely wasn't planning on hiring a new coach so soon. After Mike Leach left for Mississippi State, the Cougars hired Nick Rolovich away from Hawaii. But in the middle of the 2021 season, Rolovich refused to get vaccinated for COVID-19, which prompted the university to fire him and promote Jake Dickert to interim head coach. Dickert went 3-3 as interim, including a 40-13 victory in the Apple Cup over Washington State's first win over the Huskies since 2012, a win that ultimately removed the interim tag from his name to make him the new head coach in Pullman going in to 2022. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys, breaking down Washington State's hire of Jake Dickert. Who is he? How is he going to fare in 2022? What does the schedule look like? And of course, our official grade for this hire at the very end of this video. But before we can get to any of that, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Guys, those things just take you a few seconds to do. Just hit that like button, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button so you don't miss any of the content going forward. All those things that take you just a few seconds helps our channel out tremendously and helps us grow so we can continue to bring you non-stop college football content year-round. I can promise you guys, you do not want to miss any of the content we have for you going forward. So let's take a look at this hire. As we've kind of prefaced with many of our other videos, who is this guy? Who is the coach? So who is Jake Dickert? Jake Dickert is just 38 years old, one of the younger head coaches in the entire FBS, certainly that among Power 5 programs. But he's risen up the ranks relatively quickly. He had jobs at North Dakota State. He had a job at South Dakota State, all of those in the FCS. He got his first FBS job as the safeties coach at Wyoming in 2017. So again, 38 years old, hasn't had really much FBS experience. His first FBS job, any position coach, any job at all, was in 2017, just 5 years ago. In 2019, he was promoted to Wyoming's defensive coordinator. That year, the Cowboys went 8-5, allowed just 17.8 points per game. The Cowboys had the 11th ranked defense in the entire country under Dickert. When Washington State hired Nick Rolovich away from Hawaii, Rolovich hired Dickert away from Wyoming to become the defensive coordinator in Pullman. In 2020, as many first-year head coaches have, the Cougars went through some growing pains. They went through some struggles, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Dickert, as defensive coordinator, his defense allowed 38.5 points per game. That's good for 119th in the country. And again, a shortened season. Let's keep that in mind, 2020 being that COVID year. So take that with a grain of salt. Because in 2021, Dickert's defense allowed just 24.2 points per game, more than a 2-touchdown improvement, going from 119th in total defense to 47th in the country in defense. A major jump for the Cougars. And to me, guys, that showed that Dickert was the right man for the job. Yes, he coached those final 6 games, including their Sun Bowl loss to Central Michigan, but over the course of the year, Dickert was coaching up this defense, and to see such a drastic change in really such a short amount of time showed that he knows his stuff. And that I believe he was, again, the right man for this job in Pullman. When you look at the outlook for 2022, things are looking really good for Washington State. At the beginning of January, they weren't. The Cougars were just coming off their bowl loss to Central Michigan, which, again, they didn't really, they lost that game. They didn't even know who their opponent was going to be for a while. That Sun Bowl across the board was just a giant mess. They were coming off that loss. Their quarterback in Jaden DeLora decided to transfer out of the program. He's now at Arizona, also in the Pac-12. But the Cougars may have gotten an upgrade at quarterback. You know, a lot of people might view when your starter leaves as a downgrade. You're like, well, what are we going to do now? Washington State, guys, they went out and got Cameron Ward at quarterback. Who is Cameron Ward? Well, he was the quarterback at Incarnate Word. And why is that important? Well, Jake Dickert, one of the first hires he made when he was promoted to head coach, was bringing in Eric Morris, who was the head coach at Incarnate Word. Eric Morris is now the offensive coordinator for Washington State. You see the connection there. Morris was the head coach at Incarnate Word. Cameron Ward was the quarterback under him. Cameron Ward in 2021 threw for over 4,600 yards and 47 touchdowns. One of the best quarterbacks, not just at the FCS level, but in the entire country. And if you don't believe that, take a look at what 24/7 Sports had to say. They said that Cameron Ward was the third-ranked quarterback when it came to those in the transfer portal. He was only behind Caleb Williams and Quinn Ewers, who ultimately transferred to Texas. He was ahead of quarterbacks like Spencer Rattler and Keaton Slovis, the third-ranked quarterback in the transfer portal at the time. Cameron Ward, guys, is the real deal, and Washington State may have gotten an upgrade at the quarterback position despite losing Delora to another Pac-12 school. The defense, guys, we know that's Jake Dickert's pride and joy. The defense looks very, very solid for 2022. They return a lot of talent from one that forced 29 turnovers in 2021. That was good for 5th in the entire country, and also a defense that ranked in the top half of the Pac-12 in scoring defense and total defense. So a lot of returning talent from there. Obviously, Washington State has added some more transfers from the transfer portal on the defensive side of the ball. We'll touch more on Washington State in the following months, especially when we break down their overall record for 2022, our prediction for them. But right now, the offense with their new quarterbacks looking fantastic. The coordinators that Jake Dickert has gone out and hired were fantastic. And the defense looks like they have a lot of potential now really going into year 3 under Dickert's leadership. So what does the schedule look like? How is Washington State going to fare? And again, we're not predicting anything today, but when you look at the schedule, guys, Washington State has a very favorable schedule. Very favorable. 7 home games in Pullman. 7 home games for Washington State. Yes, the week 2 matchup against Wisconsin on the road is not ideal. Many would probably chalk that up as a loss for the Cougars. The road game at USC, of course, is going to be very tough too. And really, I think the tone will be set for the Cougars in their first 5 conference games. That's what's going to determine whether this can be a good year for Washington State and Jake Dickert or one that can be very, very special. Their first 5 conference games, Oregon at home, California at home, back-to-back road games at USC and Oregon State, the bye week, and then Utah. All of those are going to be very, very difficult. But if Washington State can come out of there with a 3-2 record, maybe even a 4-1 record, the Cougars certainly should be taken very seriously and can make a lot of noise, not just in the Pac-12 North, but maybe on the national stage as well. Because, guys, again, those home games are going to be very crucial. And when you look at all the games they have there, USC and Utah might arguably be the toughest ones. Utah being the South champion last year, the Pac-12 champion as a whole. USC looking to be solid under Lincoln Riley. Oregon with a new coach and new questions pretty much everywhere. California, same thing. Oregon State, hit or miss. So those could be 3 victories right there, which means Washington State's really 1 win away over USC or Utah from really making noise. Because if you look at the rest of their schedule, the last 4 games for me are very, very favorable for Washington State and very winnable. The Cougars actually beat all 4 of their remaining opponents on the schedule in 2022. They beat Arizona. They beat Arizona State. They beat Washington. They beat Stanford. They went 4-0 against those teams last year, winning those games by an average of 17.3 points per game. So if Washington State can coast through or make some noise in their first 5 conference games and navigate those first 6 to 7 games of their schedule, they could be in for a very, very special 2022. So what do we grade this hire, guys? What are we going to give the hire of Jake Dickert at Washington State? This is a guy that, again, is extremely young, has never had a head coaching gig before, but has risen through the ranks and waited patiently for his opportunity. And while the way he got this job is very unorthodox, very different from many others, a job's a job, and a head coaching position is a head coaching position. And, he stabilized this program. Washington State could have immediately tanked, firing their coach amidst some controversy with this weird pandemic we've been dealing with. He could have come in there, tried to just navigate them best they could, leave, and let Washington State rebuild all over again. But the Cougars decided to promote from within, and that was the best thing they could have done. Guys, to me, this is a B+ hire. I'm not going to go ahead and give it an A quite yet, but when I heard that Jake Dickert was getting this job, I loved it, and I thought he was very deserving of it. He's a guy that I think is the right man for the job. I think he proved that in those final 6 games from last year. I think he has shown that with the way his defenses have played, not just at Wyoming, but during his time at Washington State. And with the talent that he has coming in, with the hires that he has made, and the very favorable schedule we just went over, this is a Cougars team that I do think is a Pac-12 North sleeper. Do not sleep on the Cougars, because they will be legit in 2022. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Again, all those things, guys, take you just a few seconds, but help us out tremendously here on the channel so we can continue to bring you this type of content nonstop, 24/7, 365. So once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.